everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us. This is Conversations with Women Like Me. I am Julie Fairhurst. I am the founder of the book program, and we have got 21 books out there now. I just can't believe how well things are going. Well, I can believe it. And we have close to 150 writers now. And today we're with Anne. Now, Anne, is it Anne Caissie or Caissie?
Caissie.
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 So we're with Anne Caissie, and she is a writer in our newest book, which is just coming out this weekend. So depending on when you're watching or listening to this, the book is probably going to be available. And that is called Women Like Me, Reclaiming Our Power. And oh my goodness, there are 9 incredible ladies who have written just the most amazing stories. And everybody's story is different. So I hope you grab a copy when you get a chance and let us know what you think. So welcome, Anne. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thanks, Julie. I'm so excited to be here and so excited for this book to come out.
Yay! Okay, well, let me tell the listeners a little bit about who you are, and then we'll dive right into your story. So Anne, I'm going to put my glasses on. So Anne's story is called Who's That Beautiful Woman in the Mirror? Finally finding my way to a life of body kindness and love after 40 years. Anne is a woman's a woman's personal coach who is passionate about empowering women to live their best lives. With over a decade of experience in this field, Anne has helped countless women overcome their struggles with body image and develop a positive relationship with food and exercise. Don't we all need that? Anne offers a range of courses to cater to the different needs, including the following. So she's got one-on-one coaching sessions for personalized guidance. And then she's got something, I love this name, the Ditch the Diet Academy, and that's for those who are looking to break free from restrictive diets and intuitive eating. And learn intuitive eating, body kindness workshops with group support and community building. And with Anne's compassion and non-judgmental approach, you can expect to feel supported and encouraged every step of the way on your journey towards a healthier and happier you. Now, when we're done, you will see Anne's a bunch of links to get a hold of Anne. So if you decide that you want to learn more, or you want to look into possibly getting a little bit of help with whatever is going on with you, well, then the links will be there and you'll be able to reach out to her. So, Anne, I have, of course, had the privilege, which is what is one of the best things about me putting the books together, is because I get to read everybody's stories. I know you guys in the books, you don't even know each other's stories. So when the book comes out, it's a big surprise for all of you as well. So let's jump into your story. Why don't you tell me what it was that made you want to actually write your story?
Oh, Julie, it's not a difficult question to answer. I have, over a number of years, found a way to work through all of those kind of terrible ideas that we get of ourselves, as specifically as women, that we're not good enough, that we don't look good enough, that we can't succeed at getting the body of our dreams, that we should look a certain way. I struggled with all of that for years, and finally have found a way to get myself to that point where I'm okay in the skin that I'm in. And I sat back for a while and thought about it, and I thought, you know what, if I am struggling with this, most certainly there are other women who feel the exact same way, but just don't know how to take that first step,
right,
to finding their way out of it. And as we know, with many things, with all things, the first step is the most important. So I I knew that I wanted to share my story, because even if one woman reads my story and thinks, "Oh, that's me," then maybe they'll reach out to, if not to me, to somebody to get that, just get that little, I don't want to call it accountability partner, but just get that help that they need to find their way through and make their journey perhaps just a little easier than
Mhm.
doing it on their own.
Why
Okay.
don't you tell us a little bit about your journey with your health and your experiences with that body image?
hmm So, just like many young girls and young women, I grew up truly believing that I was overweight, that I didn't have the body shape that was desirable, as a teenager. Um, and, when I look back now at the reality of the situation, 5'8", and I weighed 99 pounds, and I was stick thin. But that's not what I saw. That's not what I perceived. My hips were too big. My butt was too big. My thighs were too big. I was ill proportioned. So right from an early age, that body image issue was there. Um, then, as time wears on, I did the stuff that many women do. I got into a relationship. I had children. I started, keeping a house and working and taking care of kids and doing all of those things, all the while hyper focused on my body shape,
Mm.
and always believing that it wasn't good enough. Regardless of whether I was, getting compliments or people were telling me I looked nice, it didn't matter, because somewhere along the line of being, in my late teens and early 20s, um, my father made a comment to me one day that you better be careful what you eat. We were at some sort of a family gathering. Um, Better be careful what you eat, or you're going to end up fat.
Oh.
And I think, as an adult, I look back at that and I think that perhaps it was said in jest, but that's not how I read that.
No, of
And I
course not.
carry that with me. I
Mhm.
carry it with me still to this day.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, Funny how those things get kind of deeply, deeply rooted in you,
Yes. Yes.
right? And so many of my decisions were based on that. So I would either not eat at all on purpose because I didn't want to lose weight, or I didn't want to gain weight rather, or I wanted to fit into a certain pair of jeans, or whatever the case may be. So this carried on and carried on for me for decades. Um, I had my children, and I mean, you know what it's like to be a parent. It's exhausting.
It is
I had
absolutely
two.
exhausting.
It's exhausting. I had two girls about 2.5 years apart, so it was a busy time. And when you're caring for your kids and you're keeping a house and you're going to work and you're putting dinner on the table and you're doing all of those things, um, it's exhausting, and you put yourself last, I think. Many women do that. They take care, and as women, we care for others first before we care for ourselves. It's just
Mm.
kind of the thing that we do. Um, and that's what happened. It's
Yeah.
regular story.
Mhm.
Um, so what would end up happening for me over a number of years is I would get on that slippery slope of failing to care for myself, making sure the kids were taken care of, making sure my husband was taken care of, cleaning the house, going to work, doing it all over again, and never eating, or as a result of never eating, stopping at the fast food store on the way home and sneaking the food because I didn't want to buy enough for the kids, but I was starving, and it went on and on and on.
Yeah.
And
It
I just literally stopped caring for myself.
Hmm. So
Yeah,
I think it's a slippery slope. And I
it
believe
is.
that, that there's so many of us that put ourselves on the back burner, or like you say, we're just so probably caught up in it, I think, more than anything. And we're just not even realizing that we give to everybody
Right.
else. But you know, I always think there's a reason we're supposed to put the mask on first on an airplane if the oxygen mask pops up.
Right.
And so, you know, we end up burning ourselves out and then we crash and burn. And you kind of did that a
Yeah,
bit in your story.
I
Yeah.
sure did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, and my story is not dissimilar to anybody else's.
Mhm.
Many women go through this. And I think, what kind of caught me is that I added on things like drinking alcohol every night to
Mhm.
cope with the stress.
Mhm.
And, v literally stopping any form of self-care because I was exhausted.
Yeah.
And so as the years went by, I found myself, the kids had grown up, they'd gone away to college or university, and I'm still in this not taking care of myself mode. Um, and then boom, after a 25-year marriage, my husband left. He
Mhm.
had met somebody else and ended that marriage. Now, hindsight being 2020, the signs were there, but in the moment, I
Mhm.
was blindsided.
Yes.
Everything I knew, regardless of the fact that I wasn't taking care of myself, but everything I knew was gone.
Mhm.
So that made the slope even slippier, more slippery, right?
Yes. Yes.
It was like boom. So I spent, 2 or 3 years just wallowing.
Yeah.
I literally was barely functioning. I was functioning enough to to survive and keep my job, basically.
Right.
Um, but then But then you get to that point, don't you, Julie, where it is do or die. And I knew that if I didn't take a drastic step or make a drastic change, that I would not survive.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
the pain of being in that pit of crap
Hmm.
became too big.
Yeah.
So I had to make a change.
I think, you know,
And
you're right. Your story is just so relatable to so many
yeah,
other women, because we're talking mainly about women, but of course men fall in there
right.
too, but we're
Sure.
focusing on women today. And you just, and then one day you wake up, and I believe that you either wake up and on your own and start to take care and fix whatever is going on in your life, or you know, the universe whacks you on the head and says, oh,
Mhm.
hello, time
Yeah,
to wake up. And for a lot of us, we need that whack on the head, because
we absolutely do.
we do, yeah. But I love what you did when you got the whack on the head.
Yeah. I jumped on a plane and I went to Cuba.
That's the way to do it, girl.
I figured I couldn't afford to go. I couldn't afford the trip.
Yeah.
But because I knew I was at this crossroads. I was standing on that precipice, and if I didn't do something big, I just didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I figured, you know what? I've got to do something geographical change, just even for a short time, get myself out of this physical place
Hmm.
and get all of the stress removed. So I jumped on that plane and figured I'd figure out how to pay for it later.
Yeah.
I was already in such a dire straits, it didn't matter. So,
Well, and in your story too, you know, it wasn't like you were living it up. You were
oh no.
really spending some inner soul
Yeah.
searching and
Yeah. Yeah.
tears and
Yeah. So I went to Cuba and I hung out on the beach and I walked and I slept. I
mm,
slept, and I was able to go and eat food that I didn't have to cook. So I ate. and, and I read and I slept some more and got that beautiful vitamin D and fresh air. And, while I was walking on the beach, I kind of said to myself over a couple of days, here is your chance to make a change. If you are unhappy with the way your body looks, because, by this time I'd gained a lot of weight and I looked terrible because I had been drinking so much and I hadn't been eating. And, it was just, I said to myself, Anne, you must make a choice. So if you choose to carry on this way, then away you go and carry on this way. If you choose to do something to get yourself better, then commit, but commit fully. Because there's no half doing this. You have to commit all the way.
Yeah.
And so that's what I decided to do. I decided to commit and to remake myself, basically.
Yeah.
Pull myself out.
It's funny when you were just saying, because I forgot all about this about me, but funny when you were saying that, because many, many years ago, I was quite stressed out and not doing well. And I remember I just now, it twigged me. I went to my girlfriend's house and I slept for almost 7 days. I just needed to sleep. Yeah. And I think, whether we can hop on a plane or whether we just go to our girlfriends or whether we do something, I think get out of our environment and whether you need to just sleep for a while, or whatever you need to do, walk, like you said,
Anything. Yeah. Just something that will change the thought pattern. Right. And what I realized and how I've built the way that I coach women now is that we always put the onus on what we look like on the outside. This is the problem. What is on the outside? It is 100% never what's happening on the outside. Doesn't matter how much you weigh, doesn't matter what size clothes you wear. Doesn't matter whether you use, the best cosmetics. Like, it doesn't matter what's on the outside. There's something going on internally that needs to be fixed before anything can happen on the outside. Because the outside will take care of itself once you start working on the inside. So that's why when I came back from Cuba, I decided enough. I know how to do things like yoga, how to meditate, how to walk, how to wash my face in the morning, how to journal. I know how to do all those things. So let's start doing them. I think that the biggest lesson I learned during this time is that when you're ready to do this work, we want to jump right in with both feet.
Yeah.
We want to get in there. We want to get it done. But no, what we need to do is start with one little thing. So maybe that's, like you say, Julie, going to your friends and having a mini vacation where you can just sleep, right? Or going out every morning for a walk or something like that. And that's how I began my metamorphosis out of this, right?
Yeah, we need to do something different. If we work outside the home, we drive the same way. We have lunch the same time. We're doing all of that. We need to shock the system a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so, and that's what I did. I decided that it was time for me to pull up the socks and start working on me. And it started with simply washing my face in the morning. That's it.
Yeah.
Because just the act, and people look at me kind of sometimes and they go, what? And I go, just think about it. You go into your bathroom and you have a nice face cloth and you run it under nice, warm, hot, water. So it's nice and warm and you just wash your face. It's amazing what that can do for you. Because not only is it something that you're doing to care for yourself, it feels good. And
Yes.
so it automatically puts a maybe not a big smile on your face, but you do get that little grin because, your face feels good, right?
Yes.
So this is the kind of thing that I think that we need to think about when we're making these big changes is to take it just one little teeny step at a time.
Yes.
It's not going to happen overnight. This this work that I've done, it took a number of years to get me where I am, and that's what I try and impart to my coaching clients is that you can do this, but just take your time with it.
Yes.
Take your
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
Because to your point about we're always driving the same way to work, we're always doing, the same thing. We need that jolt. It's uncomfortable to do new things sometimes, right?
Yes.
So taking our time and finding a way to do it in a way that kind of serves us and feels good is something that we really need to think about.
Yeah, and I think too along those lines is that another thing that might make it difficult is that we're not used to doing things for ourselves. We're not used to
No.
treating ourselves. I know even for me years ago, just to, what am I going to do with my paycheck? Well, okay, I got to pay the rent. I got to do this. I got to do this. And I did nothing for me back then. And of course, now I'm quite lucky because my kids are grown and I have things are okay. And so I go and do things. I
Right.
get my nails done. That's what I do.
Right.
And you
Yeah.
know what? Even when I don't have, so when I get up in the morning, I'll tell you this. I'm going to tell the world now. But when I get up in the morning after I've got myself dressed and everything, I might not even wear makeup. I might have my hair in, a messy bun or something. Every single day I put on perfume. Now, I am
Yep.
the only one, because I work from home now. I am the only one that
Hmm.
smells me until my husband comes home. I do that as a treat for myself because I started doing that probably about a year ago because I personally love perfume. So I put that on so I can smell that pretty smell all day long. I decided I
Yeah.
was doing that.
That's a that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is a little step that brings you joy,
Yes.
and probably brightens your day.
I
It's like
smell,
a
yeah, and
little
I smell it
indulgent thing, right?
and I smell it throughout the day too, so it kind of lingers with me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
But so this is the kind of work that, that I had to do for myself is, pull myself out of that, kind of rejig the way that I was looking at myself. I was unhappy with, the size of my body. So how do I take steps to change that without guilt, without shame, without any of those things that we attach to body image issues or things like that. Now, body image is a tough thing. I've had these issues since I was a young girl, as many women have. So it takes some time, it takes some tweaking, it takes trying different things, and just I think taking the steps forward is such an empowering action
mhm,
that it's amazing the changes that take place,
mhm.
right?
Yes, for
And I
sure.
think that we have to remember as women, as women too, that we need to give ourselves some grace.
Hmm.
We just need to give ourselves some grace,
Yes, yeah, for
right?
sure. Yeah, I think I would also like to mention because you had mentioned about that small comment that your father had made, and it's interesting how
Hmm.
it you carried it for many many years, and I've had a few other ladies that
Yeah.
I've spoken to who have written who have had parents say other things that maybe their
Yep.
parents didn't mean anything serious by it, but they take it and stick. So we as and not just parents, but just as adults need to be cautious
Hmm.
about what we
Yes.
say to children, whether they're our own or the kids in the neighborhood or the kids hanging out in front of the store, or and
Hmm.
just careful what we say, because we
Yeah,
might not mean anything by it, but it goes into their psyche, and then
sure
they
does.
carry it for years and years, and now that's a part of what we got to get over.
Right. And further to that, I mean, you're right. It settles somewhere in the body. For me, it settles kind of right here in the throat. My throat tightens when I think about that.
Mhm.
But um, where that manifests as an adult for me is that I say, not now, but in the past, I have said those things about myself.
Ah,
You know,
yes.
I have said things about myself, Julie, that I would never say to anybody. Like I would never look at a girlfriend and say, "You're fat.
Yeah,
You look horrible in that out."
yeah,
I would never say that, but
yeah.
I've said it to myself,
Ah,
right?
yes, yeah.
And so it's a learned behavior for sure.
Mhm.
But you're right. I think that, you know, I'd like to think that those kinds of comments are made to children not with malice. I
Mhm.
know sometimes that's not the case, um, but you're right. We carry it. We
Mhm.
carry it for a long time.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Wow.
Mm.
So what do you think that, what do you think the first step is for someone who might be listening, who doesn't, they're not sure, they're not happy, you
Mhm.
know, they're just not happy.
Yeah.
And part of it's probably got to do with body image or just life in general. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think?
You know, my first go-to is always gratitude journaling or
Mhm.
a gratitude practice.
Yes.
Always.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean people have to do it the way I do it. I mean, I sit down every morning, I open my gratitude journal and I write 3 gratitudes. But simply just pausing for a minute and thinking about it is great as well. So, but I think that if somebody starts that as a practice, either first thing in the morning or the last thing before they go to bed, it it just in it instills happiness. I mean, I'm looking at the picture right behind you. Start each day with a grateful
Oh,
heart. Like there it is.
there it
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
But I think when we start to change the way that we start or end our days
Yeah.
and realize how much we have to be grateful for, it'd be different for all of us, of course.
Yes.
It just gives that little bit of a change to our mindset,
Mm-hmm. Mm.
right? And when we start changing the mindset, everything follows behind.
Yes.
Right. So
100%.
I always encourage clients to start with that, whether they do it in meditation or as a writing exercise or posting it on their Facebook wall. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Um, just taking the time to realize what they are indeed grateful for in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
It's powerful.
It is. And there's so many things. It's hard to
Yeah.
see it though when you're
Yeah.
in that negative state. But
It is.
yeah.
But you don't, you, d- this is a bit controversial, but you don't have to actually believe it right away.
Right. I agree.
As long as you practice it and, you might not feel it in your heart, you might not embody what you're writing or thinking about.
Yeah.
But as time goes on, the brain and the heart start to believe what you're telling it.
Yeah.
So if you start telling yourself these beautiful things that you're grateful for, eventually it's going to become part of who you are.
Well, I believe that, Anne. I
Hmm.
100% believe that
Yeah.
yes, that can help as well. I mean, if you think about it, for many, many, many years, visualization has been used in the sports industry. They all
Yep.
see themselves making that basket or getting that puck in or grabbing
Yep.
that football and running. even if they've never even done it, but that's a
Right.
practice for them. And so I agree. I think even if you're feeling like you
Mhm.
have nothing to be grateful for, just jot something down, make it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Trick
Yeah.
mind.
Right. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
sure. As long, I think part of the point is that you're making an effort,
Right.
right?
Yes.
And that's the important part because, when we're talking about things like body image and, weight loss and things like that, the better we treat ourselves, the easier the journey becomes.
Yes.
You cannot lose weight. You can't be on a diet, like one of these crash diets, and be kind to your body at the same time. The two don't go together.
Yes. I agree.
So, if we start treating ourselves better, then everything else follows.
Yeah.
Everything else.
Yeah.
Mm.
Wow. Well, this has really been a very amazing conversation. Uh, I've really appreciated you writing, of course, in the book, but also being willing to come and talk about this. It's a problem in our society for sure, and I believe there's a lot of people that are suffering,
I think so.
alone, and like you were,
Hmm.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So before we close, is there anything that you would like to, any little bit of wisdom or anything that you would like to share with people who are listening?
My favorite quote that I share with clients is you cannot bully yourself into change.
Ooh,
Don't be a bully.
to yourself.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Ooh,
Hmm.
that's very good because yeah, that's what we do. We're hard on
Yeah.
ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, my
Well,
pleasure.
Anne, we will close out. I thank you so much again for being here. I thank all of you for listening, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast. I appreciate you being here as well. And as I mentioned in the beginning, I will have Anne's bio in the description with all of her links. So, there's people to help out there, whether Anne's your
Hmm.
gal or somebody else, but we don't need to suffer. We can have better lives, but as you said, Anne, we have to take that first step. We don't, there's nobody knocking on our door saying, hey, look unhappy, go do this. So
Right.
yeah, so people, that's our first step that we have to make. So, but once again, Anne, thank you so much. I appreciate you immensely for doing this, and we will talk soon.
Well, thanks, Julie.
Bye.